Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we are very glad that you could join us. Today, we are continuing gems from Srimadbhagavatam, sharing these gems so that we can have a more fulfilling and purposeful life. So please join us for invocation mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiryet Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanaha Hridayantastho bhadrani vidhunoti suhatsatam Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagvat sevaya Bhagavatir uttam shloke bhaktir bhavti nashtiki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are covering two verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter, verses 4 and 5. Please join us in the recitation of these verses. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.4. Nunam parmatah kurte vikarma yadindriya pritayah apnoti na sadhu manye yata atmanoyam asannapi kleshada asdeha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another. Hare Krishna. Just to cover a little background, this is Lord Rishabdev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, incarnation of God. He is talking to his sons, and he has 100 sons. And at that time, Bharat Maharaj was the eldest one. So we have three Bharats in our, history we see. One is, the younger brother of Lord Ramchandra. Then we have Bharat Maharaj, who actually is son of Rishabdev. And we also have another Bharat, who was son of Shakuntala and Drishtadumna. So this is the one who actually was the emperor of the world, again, in the past. And Lord Rishabdev is giving instructions to his sons. So we should be taking these instructions very seriously because they are meant for making our life blissful. Hare Krishna. Devi, would you like to read the purport?
Hare Krishna, everyone. Yes, Prabhuji, I'll read the purport. This does not have a very big purport, but for benefit of everyone, those who are joining today first time, or those who do not have any background, Prabhuji is giving this talk from a book called Srimadbhagavatam. Srimadbhagavatam is actually a collection of 12 books, 18 books. The big size, 18 books. There are 12 canto, 12 skand. And we are right now hearing from 5th canto. So Prabhuji mentioned name of king called Rishabdev. Rishabdev is giving wisdom. Now, as you know, the name of this program is Srimad Bhagavatam Gems. These are called gems because they are loaded with wisdom. Certain selected verses we have chosen. And Prabhuji is giving class. He's talking about these verses, though each verse from Srimad Bhagavatam is loaded with wonderful wisdom, wonderful knowledge. So it can take many years to give talk on all the verses. So we have selected few verses. And so this is for knowledge or information for those who are joining today first time, that we have covered from Canto 1 to 4. Last class we did from Canto 5. Now today's class has 2 verses, Prabhu, right? He's speaking on 2 verses, verses 4 and 5 from Canto 5, chapter 5. So now let's see this translation which he has already read. Those of you who missed it, now you will get the essence in the purport also. Now, what is this section which we read in purport? This is actually, we are reading the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. The purports are presented by founder Acharya of ISKCON. His name is Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. These purports help us understand the translations better, and often they have a lot of examples and additional information. So I will quickly now read. Begging and borrowing and stealing to live for sense gratification is condemned in this verse because such consciousness leads to a dark, hellish condition. The 4 sinful activities are illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. These are the means by which one gets another material body that is full of miseries. In the Vedas, it is said, Asangohi ayam Purusha. The living entity is not really connected with this material world, but due to his tendency to enjoy the material senses, he is put into the material condition. One should perfect his life by associating with devotees. He should not become further implicated in the material body. So, Prabhuji, before starting the talk, you will first cover next verse also, and then, okay.
Hare Krishna devotees. So this is in continuation with the previous verse. प्रभावस्तावदभूतजातो यावन्न जिज्ञासत आत्मतत्त्वं यावत् क्रियास् तावदिदं मनो वै कर्मात्मकं येन शरीरबन्धः. Translation by and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. Be it sinful or pious, karma has its resultant actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka, colored with fruitive activities. As long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear, and as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activity, he has to accept a material body. Devi, would you like to read the purport?
Okay, Prabhuji. So, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Before reading, we always pay obeisances to the Vaishnava Acharyas and take their blessings. So, Prabhuji already did some prayers and he will be reading further Guru Pranati after I am done with the purport. Generally, people think that one should act very piously in order to be relieved from misery, but this is not a fact. Even though one engages in pious activity and speculation, he is nonetheless defeated. His only aim should be emancipation from the clutches of Maya and all material activities. Speculative knowledge and pious activity do not solve the problems of material life. One should be inquisitive to understand his spiritual position. So, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 37 states, Yatha samidhognir samidhognir bhasmasat kurute arjuna jnanagni sarvakarmani bhasmat kurute tatha. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjun, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. Unless one understands the self and its activities, one has to be considered in material bondage. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also said, Yanye aravindaksha vimukta maninas tvai asta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya. A person who doesn't have knowledge of devotional service may think himself liberated, But actually, he is not. Aruhya krachrena param padam tata patanti adho anadrata yusmad angraya. Such people may approach the personal Brahman effulgence, but they fall down again into the material enjoyment because they have no knowledge of devotional service. As long as one is interested in karma and gyan, he continues enduring the miseries of life, birth, old age, disease, death. Karmis certainly take on one body after another. As far as jnanis are concerned, unless they are promoted to the topmost understanding, they must return to the material world. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, 19th verse, Bahunam janmanamante jnanvan mam prapadyate. The point is to know Krishna, Vasudev, as everything and surrender unto him. Karmis do not know this, but a devotee who is 100% engaged in devotional service of the Lord knows fully what is karma and jnana. Therefore, a pure devotee is no longer interested in karma or jnana. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyana. The real bhakta is untouched by any tinge of karma and jnana. His only purpose in life is to serve the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees. Thank you, Devi. So please join us in Guru Pranati. As Devi mentioned, after we have read the translation purpose and before the class starts, we pray to the acharyas so that we get their blessings and our words may be guided by their instructions and their insights. Hare Krishna. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातदहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So as we can understand, there are some very heavy instructions, but it is for our benefit that these instructions have been given. And sometimes people say, why is it so relevant? Why are these instructions so relevant for us? And why do we have to take the material body? Why is it so? Srila Prabhupada in his purpose, and in his classes, he has very nicely described that it is for the humans because we have intelligence and responsibility comes with higher facilities. So we are the ones who have to worry about the karma cycle because plants, animals, birds, they just go through based on their instincts and they are not under the jurisdiction of Yamraj. So again, that is where the distinction lies. If somebody performs sinful activities, they have to suffer the reactions of those activities. And somebody performs pious activities, so that they can have better life and, go to higher planet systems and enjoy. Even they have to take birth so that they experience the reactions of those pious activities. So in both cases, both kind of people who do sinful activity and those who do pious activity. Impious is sinful and pious is good activities, but mainly for fruitive attachment. So again, why? Attachment to sense gratification. That is the key. Why are we doing what we are doing? So Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita describes the three kinds of actions, right? So he is describing that there is karma, which is pious activities, vikarma, which is impious activities, and there's akarma. It's not inaction, it's actually action in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is what is the key aspect. So today, I'll be presenting today's session, today's sharing the gems from Srimad Bhagavatam with the acronym BHAKTI, BHAKTI. And like I always do, I will share that aspect of what bhakti entails. So, B is to be aware. We have to be aware of material sense gratification. Like, what is the purpose why we are doing different actions? And H is to hear from Sadhu, Guru, and Shastra, the three references that, you know, scriptures as well as the sadhus in our life, the devotees, and Guru, the spiritual master, the teachers, the teachers. And A in Bhakti, BHA, A is to aspire for Atma Tattva inquiry, or you can say aspire beyond karma. I'll explain to you why it's so important to aspire beyond karma. In essence, to avoid suffering. Uh, and K is to keep company of devotees, to keep company of sadhus around us, because they act as the fence to our garden where our devotional service is growing. And what is the ground? The ground is our heart where it's growing. So our heart needs protection from all around. That's why we seek shelter of sadhus. And when we do this, of course, what do sadhus do? They engage in devotional service. So we can transform our desires through bhakti, through devotional service. So this is T for transforming the desires, and I is for inquire and implement spiritual knowledge. It's very nice to hear the class, but not very intelligent if we have not taken advantage of the benefit from the class. So it's very interesting that the word silent and listen, they have the same letters, just arranged in different order, but the meaning has a gulf of difference. Where somebody could be silent during the class, silent, and maybe hearing from one ear and getting it out from the ear, nothing is happening, no processing in the middle. That's where the important piece is. Yeah, it's very important. And when he's listening, that person is reflecting on their lives and taking these teachings and understanding how they could act better in different situations of their life and how to establish themselves solidly on the ground. Srila Prabhupada said that those who are not very well established can easily get uprooted. That is true. We have seen during the time of storms, those plants and trees that are not very strongly established in the ground, they get uprooted very easily. But those who are very nicely established do not get uprooted. However, there is one kind of trees, they're an exception to this rule. So that's like the third variety. Means they're not going deep, but they're going very much sideways. And this is the redwood forest in California. What's so important about this? Why are they not? These trees are huge. Their trunks are sometimes 2 or 3 meters wide. And they are tall trees, not small trees. And their roots are not going deep, but they're connecting with each other. That shows the importance of sadhu sangha. So if we all on this together, then the journey is more pleasurable and difficulties don't affect us. That's why protection, having the protection of devotees around us who are engaged in devotional service transforms our life and as well as keeps us enlightened. And automatically becomes the devotional service becomes natural, spontaneous. And that's what we want to achieve. In our life, we want to achieve true bliss. Now, I talked about the three aspects. Karma and vikarma is pious activity and impious activity or sinful activity. Both of them, people have to, whoever performs those actions with the mood of sense gratification, that I'm this body, let me enjoy, have some sense gratification, they suffer. Why do they suffer? Because they have to take the reaction. That's called karma cycle. Sometimes people say, oh, it's karma cycle, I can't help it. Yeah, that is the initial understanding. In the beginning, people think, oh, we should not perform bad karma because that will bind us. Well, the scriptures tell us that we should not even perform good karma for sense gratification, for enjoyment in this material, because that will also bind us. And in both cases, a person who's in a human form of life, because we have high intelligence, our purpose of life, it starts with that first inquiry, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Why am I here? What is the purpose of their life? Why are they suffering in this world, and so forth? And so a person has to take responsibility for their actions. And if they do it for sense gratification, pious or impious, they have to see Yamdutas. And who are Yamdutas? They are ferocious living entities in their subtle body, and they are coming from Yamlok to take those human beings who are not engaged in devotional service, but rather engaged in pious or impious activities. And then they present these souls, who had human birth, the rare human birth, 8.4 million species, and of them, human birth is very rare. And once we do not take proper, you know, attain the purpose as defined for this human birth, then, we have to see Yamraj. And when we are in front of Yamraj, Chitragupta, he's the secretary. Chitra means he's got all those pictures of all our secrets. Gupta refers to secrets. And he tells us, and we can't deny it because everything is very well documented. And, you know, at that time, people are given choices. The souls are given choices. Oh, you did these pious activities? What kind of enjoyment are you looking for? To give choices. And the soul chooses based on what options have been given. And similarly, when they are sinful activities, again, their choices given of what kind of suffering do you want to endure in this process, and the soul chooses. Of course, they don't have all the time in the world, so but what they have done time and again, they end up repeating this. While what about the souls who have not performed pious or impious activities? What kind of activities are they performing? Are they inactivity completely? No, that is not the case. So inaction is also an action, and that is to avoid suffering. But then we have to understand that when impersonalists perform it, if they're performing it with the mood that they want to merge into Brahman, that becomes a sense-related activity, and they also have to see Yamraj. Well, in reality, there are two sons of sun god we are aware of. One is, again, there are many others, but I'm only referring to two important sons who actually, one helps us in this life to be disciplined, and one helps us after life to be disciplined for human beings. Uh, Now you may say, we have only heard about Yamraj, which helps us after life, right? After this body is not there, human birth is gone. And then he's teaching us how to correct ourselves. Because in reality, the hellish planets and the heavenly planet, in a way, where the suffering and enjoyment happens is just a reaction of our activities. Just like a judge is neutral, Yamraj is neutral. He's just making a decision, giving us choices, and we are paying for all the debts, again, all the actions that we have accumulated. But who's the other son? The other son is Saturn, Shani. He teaches us in life. So one of the important things, and this is where devotees, they love Shani from the perspective that he disciplines us and he rewards devotees tremendously. So people are in material world, they are afraid of Saturn, Shani, the effect of Shani. But devotees, we, respect everyone. We also understand he is also a devotee and he is doing his duty, which is a thankless service. Sometimes people have the tendency in the beginning when they're coming to bhakti, they're thinking, oh, Maya is bad. Maya is so sinful and so, causing such a suffering to the living entity. She's also doing a thankless service for the pleasure of Krishna. So again, sometimes people take on this service and they get bent in need. But in reality, what is Maya? Our senses. It's not another living entity. So yes, sometimes we are shocked that we discover who the enemy is, and the enemy is us. In this regard, there is a beautiful, pastime and story. We like to express ideas through stories because stories stick in our mind. So, a very great sage, very pure soul, he was walking around with his disciples, with his students. I'm talking about Guru Nanak. So, again, this is the beauty. Means Krishna consciousness is about spirituality. It's not related to a specific religion. Religion is sectarian. Uh, However, when we talk about the religion of souls, soul is Jivera Surupaya Krishna Nityadas. That our true nature is an eternal servant of Lord Krishna. And with this mindset, when we hear that all different religions, all different faiths are actually propagating one message, love God. Means there was Moses came and he got 12 commandments and he shared those 12 commandments with others. He didn't kept it to himself. He said, this is meant for humanity. And Srila Prabhupada came and he shared, his translation of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam so that we can understand those instructions. Then we also see Jesus came, Son of God. He never called himself God. He was a Messiah. Messiah means Savior. Just like we consider Srila Prabhupada as Savior because he saved our life from falling into this miserable state of pious and impious activities. And Jesus made everything very simple. He said 12 commandments condensed into one word, love. Love all. So again, we have to, and love is shown by giving, not by taking. So that's also very important. And I'm referring to Guru Nanak. And here, Guru Nanak was walking with his students and he sees a prince and he blesses the prince, Chiranjeevi Bhava, Jivova Mamara. So everyone is like, yeah, Chiranjeevi Bhava, Jivova Mamara. Very nice. Don't die. Live a long life. Then they move on. And then suddenly he sees a brahmachari who is carrying out various activities at an ashram. And he blesses this brahmachari, Ma Jiva Mansa. Marawa. So everyone is shocked. So his blessing now is Ma refers to not. Jiva means live. Don't live for long. Marova, die quickly. So they are shocked by this variation. But anyway, they didn't ask any questions. Further, they went on. And then he sees a devotee of the Lord. And he says, Jiveva Mareva. So again, you can either live or you can die. Whatever you want to do, you can do it. Now they're shocked. Why is it that the young prince got Chiranjeevi Bhava? Why is it this brahmachari got don't live long, die soon? And why is this devotee is getting a blessing that he can live or die as per his wish? And then they come across a person who was a butcher. And at that time he says, Ma Jiva Mamara, as his blessing. You don't live, don't die. So afterwards, as they finish their journey and they have this curiosity, why four different blessings to four different people? What does it mean? So Guru Nanak, he very nicely explains the first one. He says the princely life is full of all comforts and enjoyment. But as soon as one dies, one has to suffer hellish condition because they may not have performed their activities. So that's why I said, live as long as you feel like, because as soon as you die, you will have to suffer all the reactions of all the activities. What about the brahmachari? What did the poor brahmachari do? Why did you wish him that he should die immediately and not live long? It's just the opposite of what you gave to the prince. It's like, brahmachari life, it is very difficult. It is filled with so many personal challenges and activities that it's better that he dies now so that he gets a good life afterwards. He gets better life afterwards. What about that devotee that you saw? He said, whatever he desires, he can do. If he wants to live, he could live. If he wants to die, he could die. It's like, yes, he's performing devotional service now. And after death, he will continue to perform devotional service, continuing forward. So it doesn't matter whether he lives or he dies. His purpose is focused on achieving the perfection of life. Then they say, what about that butcher that you saw? You said, don't live, don't die. Just opposite to what you said to the devotee. He's like, yes, his life, the butcher's life is miserable now, and it will become further miserable after his death. So it doesn't help for him to live or die. So these lessons from Guru Nanak's journey and blessing people differently, teaches us some things, some very important lessons in life, that when we engage in devotional service, we can avoid all the miseries. So we have to be aware of sense gratification, right? And Srimad Bhagavatam, the fifth canto, fifth chapter, the fourth verse, it warns against madness of material enjoyment. This madness can be very, it's more like a mirage, and causing us to, when you see an animal in the desert is chasing mirage, they don't really get water. They just are looking at a mirage that there's some water at a distance, but there is no water in reality. And that is the nature of this material world. It is dukkhalayam shashvatam. So here, why should we be aware of that, beware of sense gratification? Why shouldn't we be engaged in uh, living a life full of enjoyment? Well, there is very nice way it is explained that, well, I want to bring it to the Western world. We all know about Dale Carnegie, and he has a very important quote: "Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes." You can complete it in the chat what it makes, but I'll try to explain it through our shastras. ध्यायते विषयान् पुंसा संगास्तेषुपजायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधो विजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिभ्रंशात् स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् विनश्यति. So dhyayate vishyan pumsa. So when we are meditating on a specific sense object, attachment develops. And due to that attachment, so again, we talked about this material world as dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Dukkhalayam means a place of misery. Just like we have bhojanalaya, means a place where you get food. Vidyalaya, where you get knowledge, the place where you get knowledge. So dukkhalayam means a place which is filled with misery, where you get miseries. And ashashvatam is nothing is permanent in this world. Everything, this impermanent nature is there. So even when, we have miseries coming to our life, we can be sure that these miseries will pass away. And if there is happiness coming, that we can be sure is also will pass away in the material consciousness. However, spiritual consciousness is different, which is what we all are aspiring to attain. Dhyayate Vishyan Pumsa, where it refers to that when one meditates on the sense objects, seeking sense gratification, that is important. What is the purpose? Why are you doing different activities? Is the key aspect. Sangashtesh Vijayate, one develops attachment to those sense objects. And with that attachment to those sense objects, Sangas Sanjayate Kamat. One becomes attached, and the next step of attachment is lust, kama. One becomes lusty to acquire and enjoy those sense objects. Kamat krodho vijayate. So if one does get those sense objects, it's like pouring fire, means clarified butter, ghee in fire, and the fire only becomes stronger. So in due course of time, it will cause one to become angry. And if they don't get what they desired, then of course, from the very start, they become angry. So that's why detachment and knowledge help us, which are the two sons of bhakti, devotional service, help us from all this frustration and disappointment that comes. But when we are not in that consciousness, we are in material consciousness, seeking to enjoy the sense objects, attachment develops. From attachment comes lust, kama, and from kama comes krodha vijayate. One becomes angry, one becomes too lusty and then too attached, and then anger is the next step. Krodha vijayate. Krodhat bhavati sammohat. And from this anger, one's ability to see things as they are vanishes. So again, one falls in delusion. Sammoha smriti brahmasat. And sometimes when we are walking and it's foggy on the road, we don't understand what's what. And similarly, we are not able to see things as they are. So our intelligence becomes bewildered. Sammohat buddhi nasho and buddhi nashat vinashyati. And once our intelligence is lost, then our downfall is guaranteed. So it's also very important that we understand this cycle. While on the other hand, when we engage in Krishna consciousness, when we engage in devotional service, when we engage in the business of love, of giving to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because He has given us everything that we have in our life, then of course that also causes chain reaction. So as I was talking about Dale Carnegie giving us practice, 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 practice makes it permanent. No, it is not practice makes it perfect. Practicing the wrong thing will make it permanent in the wrong way. So that was the key essence from these verses that Lord Krishna shares from Bhagavad Gita, that whatever activities we do, we repeatedly engage in similar mindset and similar activities, and they continue to cause misery. And another personality, Einstein puts it very nicely. Trying to do the same thing but expecting different result is the definition of insanity. That's also in a way summing up the verses, where if we are engaged in devotional service, then of course we'll continue to engage in devotional service after this life. So in this life we have to practice. That's why we are called sadhakas. Sadhakas is like practitioners, and the practice is to engage in devotional service. And by this engagement, we can truly come to that level where we start to get higher taste. And one of the things that higher taste does is it actually helps us see the situations from a higher platform. And once who has seen has tasted greater things, then they won't fall victim to bad things in life. So material pleasures, as I was talking about, they're like mirages, while in devotional service means, what do mirage mean? When we are chasing various goals in our life, even though we attain those goals, as soon as we attain those goals have not become so important. We immediately identify the next goal. And this material world is very good in this world of advertisement about how to live life. They always say you need to, finish your school so that you get a good job. You get a good job, you get a good wife. You get a good wife, you get a, well, I'll try to put it in another story format. Um, so there was a great sage, and he had a very disciplined, a very nice student. And they both were living in a forest. So the sage told his student, I'm giving you this Bhagavad Gita, read it daily and continue to meditate on it and act accordingly. And of course, in this forest, you're living in a cave, so everything is very nice. You have these two sets of clothes, as well as there is a nice fountain close by, so many trees and fruits are there. So you can eat and then focus on devotional service throughout the day. The sage says, I'm going on a pilgrimage, I'll come back after a year. Well, after a few years. So the student is thinking, yes, this is my time to, be in sadhana, because I was in sadhana where I was under the guidance of my guru. But now this is a true test. When no one is watching me, that's when how I'm going to act. That will determine. And that is what is true. Means in our life, we can act very nicely when we are being watched. But what are we doing when we are alone? How is our mind driving us crazy, or are we disciplining the mind constantly? So those are some of the important lessons that we can see when we are alone. But rather, we be alone with devotees than be alone with just uncontrolled mind, because the mind can be our best friend or our worst enemy. So this student, he is reading Bhagavad Gita, taking bath at the waterfalls and then eating the fruits in the jungle, in the forest. And he started observing that there is a mouse that comes and starts to nibble on his Bhagavad Gita. He wants to save his Bhagavad Gita. Nobody wants their Bhagavad Gita, the only source of knowledge, to vanish. So he says, you know what? I should get a cat. So I'll get a cat and she will keep the mouse away. So he goes and gets a cat. The cat keeps the mouse away, but now the cat is saying meow, meow. So I want milk. Give me milk. So he's like, oh, she needs milk. So he gets a cow. So cow gives milk, he feeds the milk to the cat, and the cat keeps the mouse away. He's continuing to do his study. But now the cow needs to take care, and he's thinking, if I take care of the cow, then the whole day will go by. So maybe I should hire a help, and the man who take care of the cow. And so now the cow will give milk, I'll feed the milk to the cat, and the cat will keep the mouse away. And my Bhagavad Gita study can continue. Well, he hires a man, but this man is lazy. he has to be watched all the time. He's like, I cannot hire another man to watch on this man because both of them can come one party and, I will be at loss. So he says, maybe the solution is I should get married. So he decides to get married because his wife will be devoted to him and she will watch this man and not, see him to be lazy and keep him engaged in taking care of the cow. The cow will give milk and I'll feed the milk to the cat so that the cat will keep the mouse away. So he gets married, and now his wife is saying, oh, give me jewelry, give me clothes, I want children. Because what's the purpose of marriage? Every action, every activity that we do in our life has a specific purpose. The purpose of marriage is to beget children. So he says, sure, again, so they have children. And now his wife is watching the man is taking care of the cow is giving milk, he's feeding the milk to the cat, and the cat is keeping the mouse away. But to be able to maintain his wife and children, he has to earn money. So now he says, let me start trade. There's so many wonderful resources in this forest. I can use those resources and start trading so that I can get money so I can take care of my children. I can, give nice gifts to my wife and she will be happy and she will watch over this man who is taking care of the cow. The cow will give milk. I'll feed the milk to the cat and the cat will keep the mouse away. After a few years, when his spiritual master returns, he's like, what nonsense have you done? Where is your time for reading Bhagavad Gita? And he is rationalizing, rationalize. So the disciple is rationalizing that I'm doing all this for Bhagavad Gita. This is vicious mind. That's why we need to have a higher level of guidance. So we have to be very much aware of sense gratification because they come in different garbs, in different coverings. And we have to, that's why, hold on to the Sadhu Guru and Shastra. So that is H. So beware of material sense gratifications for B and H is for here from Sadhu Guru and Shastra. The three references are like a triangle. Triangle has three sides, and each side is dependent on the other two sides. So it's like a solid structure. Why is it important to hear from Sadhguru in Shastra sometimes? Because in spiritual life also we see people, they have different experiences based on their different level of uh, understanding and perception around this world. So there are some students who have just started taking Bhagavad Gita class and they're like, oh, karma cycle, Srila Prabhupada talks about karma cycle. So you do good, you get good results. You do bad, you get bad results. They forgot about the third part, that you get devotion, do devotion service, and you get ultimate result, which is the purpose of this life. So they are in this karma cycle. And the beauty of karma cycle in reality is, which they are missing, is that you can change your karmas by making corrections to your actions. What's the purpose behind? We are not this body. Jivira Surabhaya Krishna Nityadas. However, they are, just little knowledge can be dangerous. So they're using this knowledge. They're walking and they see that a man has fallen in a dark well and he's calling out, please help me, please help me. And they're saying, oh, this is because of your karma. You just have to have, suffer through the reactions of your karma and then everything will be all right. And they're passing on. Now behind them are coming some, senior devotees, some more, mature devotees. And they hear the man. They immediately go there. Oh, this man is in trouble. Let's help him. They throw a rope and they say, come up. Now the students are, the first group that passed saying, wait a minute. We just heard about the karma cycle. And he's just suffering the karma of his past reactions. Like that's the difference because you were silent, only taking those literal meanings while we were listening and taking the inner sense of what it means. And the purpose is that when we hear something from a class, we have to help it to not just make our life better, but also to help others' life better. So everyone who is around us is very important from that perspective because they observe what we are engaged in. That's why Srila Prabhupada, again, was talking so many times that we should not live a life of cats and dogs, hogs and camels. Varahosta kare. We hear in Srimadbhagavatam, second canto, the third chapter, 19th verse, where those people who are praising other men who are like dogs, hogs and camels and asses, they praise. But these men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, right? The deliverer from evil. So they live a life of like these animals. Now, why is this life of animals so bad? Because in reality, you see, a dog is very faithful and always trying to do. But then we also hear about a dog of a washerman. Na ghar ka na ghat ka. He doesn't, when the mistress is thinking, oh, the dog is going with my husband, so my husband will feed. When the husband brings the dog back home after all the work, husband is thinking, oh, my wife will feed him because she feeds me and everything. So why won't she feed? The poor dog is hungry, and at the same time is living a miserable life. So we should understand that we need to have not just a materialistic master, but as a spiritual means again, Lord Krishna as our true master guiding us, and his devotees to guide us as well. As we continue to learn, again, we are looking at various tips. Now, from Bhakti, we say that before eating, we need to pause and offer food. This is in all cultures. These practices are in all cultures. So we should understand, take it to heart. We should, replace 10 minutes of scrolling through various web pages and other things with chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And similarly, when we are aspiring beyond karma, this is what I was identifying, that the fifth verse that we covered today talks about that as long as we don't seek Atma Tattva, we remain defeated. So, what is true defeat in life? It's not that somebody fell down. That's not the ability to not get up after once falling down is a true defeat. Because Maya is strong, and sometimes we win, sometimes she wins. Yet at the same time, a true warrior, a true spiritualist is one who knows to get up and again correct their actions and make corrections constantly on a daily basis rather on an hourly basis. And those who are really good spiritualists, they are making corrections every second. They are reflecting back. Just like when you're in a plane, you can see, those cars and everything, in the traffic, they're stuck and all that. So they can see their life from that perspective, from a higher platform. So when seeing on a higher platform enables them to understand what's going on around, they can also seek the guidance from Sadhguru and Shastra, the scriptures, the uh, devotee association, as well as the spiritual masters, so that they can mend their lives, right? It sometimes looks broken apart, but in reality, it's just a puzzle that needs to be put together and a nice scenery appears in the whole picture. So in this way, we can take so many lessons. And so we should reflect on the consequences before indulging in any action. We should look at it. Am I doing it for Krishna or am I doing it for my sense gratification? Well, sometimes when I say Krishna, there people are thinking this is a religion. No, it's a sectarian, not a sectarian session. It's a spiritualist discussion. Because Krishna is known as Christo in Mid East and is known as Christ in West. So again, from that perspective, we see that we are talking about the same personality, just with different names. Sun is known as Surya in Eastern culture, but it's the same sun. So that's where we have to look from the proper perspective. And as we continue to look at that, we have to have this keep steadfast inquiry, right? Which is possible in the company of devotees because devotees act like a fence. They help our practice become spontaneous because everyone is engaged. When you go and see army men, they are dressed in the same dress, they're doing the same kind of activities together. And so everything which looks very troublesome to us becomes natural to them and very easy to do because everyone is doing it together. They are helping each other. And that's why there is a nice saying in the Eastern worlds that 1 + 1 is not 2, it is 11. 1 + 1 is 11. And so we should always case for keep company of devotees. And here, how do we improve our practice, our devotional service? There, Rupa Goswami in Updeshamrita, he gives the 6 ways we can enrich our bhakti, our devotional service, our actions of love, of giving and sharing Krishna, but in reality, for pleasure of Krishna, carrying out any activity and all activity that Krishna desires. And that would give him true satisfaction. Utsahan Nishchaya Dharya Tat Tat Karma Pravartana Sangya Tyaga Sato Vritte Sadbhir Bhakti Prasiddhati. Utsahan, we should be very enthusiastic to serve Krishna. Nishchayat, we should be very determined. So sometimes we are very enthusiastic but not determined, then of course we can fall. But we have to be very determined. But sometimes people are determined and they're very enthusiastic, but they may not have patience. So the third one is patience. We have to be very patient because it is a correction that's coming. Sometimes we try to clean a space, right? You want to clean a pantry room or something, and the moment you're thinking, oh, it will just be a few minutes, and then you start and so much dust comes up, you're like, I had no idea there's so much dust and so much cleaning that needs to be done. That's life as we start. So we have to be very patient because this is a scientific experiment that we are carrying out in our life for our improvement, and nothing comes easy. We are responsible. Just like a child, just because his child doesn't know the fire burns, if the child puts his hand in fire, he's going to get burned. So we have to look from that particular lesson that we are responsible for our actions. Just because we are ignorant does not save us. And we don't want to be defeated in our life because that's a life of miseries now as well as afterlife. So we want to. Atato Brahma Jigyas is, of course, inquiring why there's misery in this world, but everyone is seeking happiness. Everyone is looking for happiness. Anand Bhaya Abhyasat. So that is the true purpose of life. But we don't want temporary happiness, which is like spark in the dark. We want to be in front of the sun. So everything is well lighted and we see things as they are. And that means we have to engage in activities that keeps us engaged. So Utsaha, great enthusiasm, Nishchaya, determination, Dhairya, with patience, Tat Tat Karma Pavatanat, engage in 9 process of devotional service, Shavatam, Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. So hearing, chanting, remembering, engaging in worshipping the Lord, singing prayers, serving his lotus feet, being a servant to the Lord, being his friend, as well as surrendering everything for his pleasure. So the 9 process of devotional service. Yes, singing prayers as well. And they're different personalities. Just by doing one thing, they perfected their lives. So again, we have to make means this devotional service is not an activity for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 1 hour or 3 hours. It's an activity for 24 hours a day. And starts with hearing, but finally acts, comes out in our actions. So that is the full culmination of our activities. And as we go through bhakti, this will help transform, right? Desires that we have, it will purify our consciousness and learning to give instead of taking. So that's what is important. And in practice, you're doing something that you have not done in the past, but you're doing it so that you get to experience the true results. So sometimes we see that when we were back in school, we didn't understand why do we have to study maths? Why do we have to do such complicated maths and so much studies? Well, the purpose is that when we come to living a life, then we can understand things as they are in this material world so that we can act accordingly. However, also one thing they don't teach in our schools and colleges is Atma Gyan, Atma Tattva. So we have to always aspire for that Atma Tattva and transform our life in bhakti in the company of devotees. And does it finish there? No, I still stands. And that's not I as who I am, but rather I is to inquire and implement spiritual knowledge. So every moment is an opportunity in our life to make that inquiry to ourselves. And we should be inquiring various things, means we should be having some prompts to help us understand things. Which sense pulls me more strongly? How can I redirect it to Krishna? What past indulgence brought me pain instead of joy? How does chanting replace material cravings? We have to make efforts to ask these questions. What's one area I can simplify this week? Don't start with a mountain of tasks. Start small, but then keep adding. Sometimes adding many small, small things makes it big. It is a saying in India that a pot is filled by a drop of water, as it keeps accumulating. And we have to understand what is our definition of happiness. That is, we are taking today versus what is our definition of happiness, Krishna's service. Because that's true service. When we take one step towards Krishna, he takes 10 steps towards us. Our steps are puny, but Krishna's steps, in one step, he covered the whole earth, and the second step went to the end of the universe. So his steps are huge. So no matter how far he is, he is more eager to be with us, to have us back with him, than we are eager to take to Krishna consciousness and to, love him. So these are the important lessons I just wanted to cover, and quickly recapping what we talked about today. Bhakti is B is for beware of sense gratification. H is hear and hold on to Shastra. So hear from Sadhu, Guru and Shastra, the three references. And A is to aspire for Atma Tattva inquiry. And that is food for soul. We have to understand what is that our soul is looking for. And we are soul. Once again, the body is not us. And K is for keep company of devotees, sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha sarva shastra kaya, love mata sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hai. And T is for to transform desires through bhakti, through devotional service, learning to give instead of taking. Fake till you make it. So that's what practice sometimes is troublesome in the beginning, but it becomes very natural. And I is to inquire and implement spiritual knowledge. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today in the gems from Srimadbhagavatam, we covered these two verses from the 5th canto, 5th chapter, verse 4 and 5, which tells us what can cause our defeat so that we understand what is the path for victory. Hare Krishna. Devi, would you like to add anything?
Hare Krishna. So that's very nice. Prabhuji likes to actually present the set of teachings with the help of an acronym. So it helps us remember. And now I quickly wanted to just add something. It will be helpful for everyone. I know due to shortage of time, you did address that, but still I want to mention this. So this chapter 5 from Canto 5 of Srimad Bhagavatam. This chapter is about Lord Rishabdev, King Rishabdev's teachings to his sons. And he is Supreme Lord himself. We are reading in Srimad Bhagavatam several incarnations of the Lord. And they appear, they give teachings, either to their wife or to their son, or in certain setting. Maharaj Parikshit received this entire Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami. And so it has been already, just for background, Rishabdev, Lord Rishabdev, he has 100 sons. He is giving them instructions how to live a virtuous life. So his 100 sons, Lord Rishabdev advises them to accept their elder brother Bharat as their guide and Lord and serve him. But he also tells them how in this life, even being born in materialistic setup, one can transform their consciousness by engaging in activities of in Krishna consciousness. So when these verses, Prabhuji, you have explained nicely with the help of acronym, we should meditate on it, and we should try to see how we can engage in austerity and in Krishna consciousness to attain this divine position of devotional service. I think we can wrap up the class now. Hare Krishna.
Ganta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki Janant Koti Vaishnav ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful week in Krishna consciousness. Om Tat Sat.